Men and women from 5 states have found their way to Texas, just outside Fort Worth, in an effort to overcome their personal fear of guns at Bill Davison's TAC Pro Shooting Center.
All right, welcome to TAC Pro Shooting Center. My name is Bill Davison. I own the place and I'm the chief instructor. This is the way it's going to go. You're going to come up, we're going to issue you your pistol. So if you'd like to come up and get yours first.
My husband owns a Ruger 9mm, and I have a fear of using the gun because I don't feel I know how to use it.
I'm here taking training class here at TAC Pro this week to learn how I can empower myself.
My experience with firearms is sporadic, mostly because I was afraid of them.
But what events transpired to motivate these regular, average citizens to stand up and find their way down to Bill and his team at TAC Pro Shooting Center?
I couldn't tell you exactly how long the beating went on for. I had a corneal transplant. All I really see on this side is more blurry and shadows.
I live in the city of Rochester, New York, and I was walking with my dog in one of the local parks, and a gentleman pulled a knife on myself, and that started to raise awareness. Maybe I didn't know how to take care of myself.
I was mugged. I didn't see it coming, I wasn't prepared, and I had no idea what to do in that situation.
I do a radio show, and because I've said something that they didn't agree with, I've been threatened, followed.
I just moved down to the Springfield, Massachusetts area. Springfield, Massachusetts is known for random violent crime.
I'm very nervous around guns. I have never done anything like this in my life. But I believe at this point in life that you have to take care of yourself.
9 men and women have signed up for an intensive 5-day training course that includes handguns, hand-to-hand defense tactics, and real-time role-playing reenactments, complete with paintballs, protective headgear, and a hell of a lot of adrenaline. For most students, it's a bit overwhelming. Welcome to Stephenville, Texas. It's home of the TAC Pro Shooting Center. With over a quarter century of hands-on training both in the field and as an instructor, Bill Davison is one of the most elite freelance weapons and defense instructors in the world.
Joined the Army first. From there I went into the Royal Marines. That's where nearly 90% of everything I know came to me.
Following the Royal Marines, Bill moved into the British Special Forces, where he became an instrumental instructor in their curriculum.
And it just went on to, well, why don't you have your own training center, and Texas would be the place to do it. What our goal is here is to teach you how to safely control a weapon to defend yourself. TAC Pro exists mainly for this goal.
I've been working out here for about 40 years. Bill is a phenomenal instructor. His passion is to make sure people can defend themselves.
But with all of this elite military training, will it be enough to transform these students and crime victims into knowledgeable, responsible conceal and carry citizens of American society?
Having a gun concealed on your person is without a doubt one of the greatest gifts, the greatest honors that you can have wherever you live. To know that you've got the right and the capabilities to defend yourself. And if you don't believe me, have a look at everywhere that's got a concealed handgun permit and crime rate goes down. Well, there's a reason for that. It's a good deal to carry a gun concealed. Take position, go! With the magazine on the gun. Over 80% of people who own guns don't go to get formal training. So once you make that first step, once you say, I am going to go get formal training, that's a big deal. This was special because most of the class didn't really want to have a gun. My instructors are looking at me and going, this is going to be hard. And I answered it the same way I always do. It is our job to train them to be safe and survive with their weapon. A lot of them are very nervous. A lot of them have been in situations that weren't good situations before.
I was raped on a cruise ship by a crew member. Being raped it was the worst thing that has ever happened to me. It was awful. I truly never felt so helpless.
Lori's best friend Michelle was also aboard the same cruise liner.
I felt that I couldn't do anything, that I wasn't able to stop it. So I feel this huge sense of urgency to do whatever it takes to get over my fears, because I want to be that person that can protect the people that I love. And I'm going to learn how.
Do you want to be the guy who loses, God forbid, a loved one, and you have to think back, if I had only done this, or if I'd just known better how to protect myself, or I wouldn't have been so naive as to think it couldn't happen to me? I mean, do you want that to be you? I want to be proactive about this, you know, especially in this day and age. You just don't know what's out there.
All they have now is the door open and the welcome mat down. This is the first stepping stone on a new way.
According to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, an estimated 1.4 million violent crimes occurred nationwide, up 1.6% from 2004. Many of these crimes may have been avoided if the victims had known how to arm and defend themselves. As the saying goes, luck favors the prepared. Perhaps no one knows this as well as Susan and Mike Gonzalez of Jacksonville, Florida.
So what we're going to do now then is we're going to get into the meat of the lectures, and we're going to go into standard safety procedures. Every one of you has to start your own philosophy. That philosophy must exist with safety, and it must exist with how you're going to do that safety. And it is one of the goals of TAC Pro to get everybody safe, even the ones that don't want to shoot. We're going to give you the rules, and you have to apply them every time you're in contact with a weapon. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't actually know how their weapon works. You're going to unload and load your gun and work the functions on it numerous times. You're the one who has to learn how it works.
Knowledge on how to safely and effectively use a firearm can make all the difference in a life-threatening situation. We're moving away from TAC Pro now to Jacksonville, Florida, to meet Susan Gonzalez, a concealed carry advocate and home invasion survivor.
My husband wanted guns in our home for self-protection.
Since we were married, she's never liked guns. She didn't like them in the house.
Because of the horror stories you hear of children and guns.
I tried to teach her with the Ruger I had, how to load it and everything. Finally talked her in after years.
I was very scared of guns. He would take the gun and he would show me what to do with it.
Practicing how to load it, which I always kept loaded.
And I really wasn't into it. I just would say, okay, put that gun away, because I didn't want him in our home, but he demanded that we have him for self-protection.
One of the things we'll talk about in class is we have this game that says, what if the fight starts now? What if something bad happens right now? What would I do? Where would I go? How would I deal with it?
August 1st, 1997. Susan Gonzalez was waiting up late for her son to come home.
He had called, he was at her sister's house playing video games. So she stayed up waiting on him.
At 12:40, I heard my doorknob jiggle, and I assumed it was my son. I got up off the couch to go let him in.
She didn't hear his car alarm get set.
The next thing I know, someone kicked my front door.
Once a bad situation happens, you have to determine in your mind, right now, I'm going to survive this, and I'm going to survive it in the best way that I can.
I remember a loud boom noise and someone screaming, "Lay down, ma'am." And instead, I took off running, trying to make it to the bedroom where my husband was sleeping.
And that's when I woke up. The room was dark. I could hear her hollering for me.
I ran through to the bedroom and made it to the door and tried to hold him out of the bedroom.
I got up to the door, half asleep, still wasn't sure what was going on.
They were beating on the door and my body was against it, and I'm not sure whether the bullet hit the door first or the door busted across me. I felt a bullet hit me, and when the door broke, it broke my ribs down my right side. Mike had grabbed the intruders at that point and was trying to push them back out of our home.
Got into a struggle with the people that broke into the house, fought them from the bedroom, through the kitchen, into the living room.
There comes a point where people want to give in. There comes a point where people say, well, I'm just going to let this happen. I'm going to get it to stop by letting it happen. That's not what we want you to do from now on. We want you to be aware that you're never going to quit. We're going to make sure that we keep going, and we keep going until it's better for us and worse for them.
As he left the bedroom, I was able to get to the phone, and I called 911. After I hung the phone up, I went straight for that gun Mike had told me what to do with.
I was surprised she remembered any of this.
What people don't realize is the police don't just magically appear, so it's up to you to protect your own life.
Susan's front door was kicked open, and suddenly her home, her feeling of security, her peace of mind were all shattered. In the chaos, Susan and her husband Mike were both shot, but in their panic, neither stopped to react.
One was beating me with a shotgun from behind, and the other one was in front of me.
I ran out and I shot 2 to 3 bullets over their head thinking they would run. And one of them about that time jerked away from my husband and started running towards me. Once I ran through the bedroom and turned and he wasn't there, I waited a matter of a few seconds. And then I inched towards my bedroom door to peek out. I couldn't see his body, but I could see his arm and the gun. What he did not know is I had a little wall next to the bedroom that led into the same living room. He was still squatted waiting on me, and I opened fire on him.
2 of Susan's rounds struck his chest, 1 in each lung.
I realized Mike was still fighting with the other intruder. I spun around to try to fire on him, and I watched the intruder put the gun to my husband's side.
I got shot again in the living room, and that's when I hit the floor.
I turned to run, and he started firing upon me.
The intruder fired multiple rounds at Susan, striking her again in the chest. He quickly fled.
And I was standing praying that the police would hurry up and get there. I prayed to God to forgive me of all my sins, and I looked down and I seen blood just pouring out of my chest, and I knew I wouldn't make it much longer, and I just could only hope that I could make it to tell the police what had at least happened.
Shortly after the intruder fled, police and paramedics arrived.
About that time, I hear one officer arrive, and I remember him telling me there's more help on the way.
Both Susan and Mike had severe gunshot wounds in the chest, but Susan's injuries were deemed the most severe.
I think I really was at that point going in shock. They removed my clothes. I am just pouring blood. I remember the EMT coming in and telling them they were going to be landing life flight, but life flight can only take 1. And he bent over and he said, "We need to take the worst one." And he looked me in the eyes and he said, "Ma'am, you're going life flight." And at that point, I really went downhill because I think the reality actually set in at that point.
She was immediately life flighted to St. Vincent Medical Facility in Jacksonville to undergo extensive lung surgery. She was not released from the hospital for 6 weeks. Mike was out after a few days, but both carry the mental and physical scars to this day.
Before my home invasion, I was a shy person. And once I became a victim, I knew that it would be best for me to speak out and to help other people, not to be fearful as I was.
Things happen. And if you don't think they're gonna happen, that's, ignorance. I've made the decision that I'm gonna protect myself if the situation calls for it.
Here it is. It's finally coming to fruition. I'm going to be educated enough to protect myself and my family, and I feel pretty good about that.
When a woman can put a gun in her hands and can control it, can be in charge, and can make that gun and those bullets do exactly what you want it to do, that's really empowering.
I hope people that are skeptical or fear firearms take the time to watch this show. It might save your life. Don't fear the gun.